Hello, Richard, and good to see you. Thank you for giving me your time today again.
Well, hello to you, Erskine, and thank you for this kind invitation of yours.
It's an honor. Yeah, so today I would like to talk to you about an interesting topic, which is, I think, relevant both from a therapeutic perspective and also maybe personal level for people who are watching this. So the topic is forgiveness. And I would like to ask you what comes to your mind, the first thing that comes to your mind when I say forgiveness.
Forgiveness is so essentially part of being mature. Um, but forgiveness cannot be programmed. Forgiveness cannot be taught. It's got to come from the heart, from one's own initiative. Forgiveness is the capacity not to forget, but to let go of. To not be clinging on to some resentment or hatred or disgust, but to let that go. But it has to come spontaneously from the person. And it has to come with a sense of compassionate understanding for the experiences that the other person was also going through. Not excuse making. And it doesn't mean that you have to make everything appear to be right, but it's
Yeah,
letting go of the influence and the hold that it is on a person. When people hold on to resentment, it
mm.
hurts themselves more than others.
So when you say let go, is actually like processing or like,
Letting go of the anger, letting go of the resentment, letting go of the bitterness that all people often hold on to because somebody else did them wrong. Um, a child's father was physically abusive, or his mother uh, mistreated him in some way. And people hold on to that, and it affects their life many, many years later. Now,
yeah,
in 1973, I wrote an article in the Transactional Analysis Journal called Six Stages of,
yes,
where
yes,
I talked about forgiveness as the last stage.
yes,
And I wish I hadn't published that because when I sat on some of the TA examining boards, what people would do is present their case and say, and I took him right to forgiveness,
yeah,
though it was a stage that one had to accomplish.
yeah. And the therapist has to push kind of or suggest the idea or,
It is not coming spontaneously and systemically from the person. Um, so I was disappointed that I wrote that article, which I wrote at a time I was working in a prison.
mm,
And I was working with a lot of prison inmates, and I looked at various stages that occurred in the therapy, their defensiveness. Then they would often get into an angry stage. By defensiveness, I mean that position of doesn't everybody feel this way the way I do? The way I feel is normal. My hatred for my old man is
yeah.
normal.
So it's like when the effect of those experiences are egocentric to the person,
Yeah.
and it's normal. So there is no acknowledgement
And
still.
then they would often go to a second stage called angry. My parents are responsible. They did it to me.
Yeah,
Then, after working with that, I found that they would often move to a hurt stage of my needs weren't met. They moved from anger at the other to
yeah,
feeling the absence of that need being met. Um, And then there was that realization of they made their own conclusions, their own script decisions,
Mhm.
and that taking some responsibility for themselves. And then finally, a sense of forgiveness. But again, I was working with a prison population and trying to accomplish something in the
Yeah.
therapy.
Uh,
What that, yeah,
Yeah, I wanted to say that there is a sequence here from anger to the responsibility and to the forgiveness. And but it just reminded me of something I read from Nancy McWilliams, where she wrote that crimes need to be acknowledged before they can be forgiven. And I um, experience it a lot with clients that when I start the inquiry, sometimes they think we are searching or looking for someone to blame,
yes,
and they provide their understanding of the other before there is an anger. So it's
yeah,
like the anger does not necessarily come first in the
yeah.
process.
It's a blaming stage. Yeah. But once I started working in my office with the general population and seeing a lot more people who were physically and sexually abused as children, I realized that in some of those cases, forgiveness is not therapeutic. That holding on to how they have been wounded and violated as a child is
Yeah,
not forgivable. What's
yes,
important, though, is the aspect of forgiveness is letting go of the bitterness, mm, but still holding the other person responsible.
yeah,
One of my clients took her sexually abusing father to jail, I mean, to court, and actually he wound up in jail. Um, with that, she really relaxed the tension in her body, her sense of resentment, but she always held him responsible. I asked her if she was going to go visit him, and she said, "No, I'm never going to visit him. I write to him now and then, but I don't want to see him, but I no longer suffer."
mm. So
That,
that acknowledgement was actually the therapeutic aspect or the integrative aspect that the person realizes what has happened to them.
that's right. Yeah. Now, I think it's important to have that stage of forgiveness for some people, but maybe it's not one size fits all.
Yeah. Mm. There's also some experiences coming to my mind now that clients might have some resent for their previous therapists and now, or even in this therapeutic relationship for the mistakes or misattunements that has happened. So I wonder if you had such experiences too.
Well, I've certainly been the therapist that some people have come and complained about their previous therapist.
Yeah,
They and part of what I do is focus on the experience of that client. Uh, Very seldom do I try to defend or explain the other therapist. Um, but I also look for where is the original story? Is there a transferential story that has led them to being unhappy with their
yeah,
therapist? Or were they in an idealizing transference with that therapist and then discovered that the therapist was a real person? And then they're
yeah,
disappointed. All right. So
mm,
it's in helping them understand their own process.
yeah. So through this understanding and maybe find out what's happening now I think this process now.
Yeah, and the
That,
transferential story that might lie underneath that. Yeah. And then I watch, am I going to be making the same kinds of errors or having the same kind of conflict? And they're
yeah,
are just telling me what they're predicting to happen in our relationship.
yeah. Okay. So
And,
it becomes a signal. So what is going to happen maybe later? Yeah,
but your topic of forgiveness is so important, but not to be programmed in the therapy, not to be guided prematurely. It's got to come spontaneously from people. And in some
yeah.
situations, maybe it's never appropriate.
Hmm. And another thing that now came to my mind is about probably related to guilt, but it's about self-forgiveness. So when the person acknowledges what they have done.
Acknowledge, yes. Not brutally criticize,
Yeah.
yeah. Uh, take responsibility for, yes. And I think that's the really important part, is to be able to take responsibility for how I have hurt the other person. Now, many people say, well, I'll take responsibility. Please forgive me for what I did.
Mm,
That's not
mm,
taking responsibility. Taking
mm.
responsibility is look at how what I did has hurt you. And that should never have happened to you. And I was wrong for doing that. That's a different kind of responsibility. Mhm.
Yeah. And probably the commitment that comes after that. And then not.
Ideally, then, some kind of a commitment to, and I'm not going to do that again.
Yeah. Well, thank you. So now it's like your emphasis, I realize that it's on the process and the readiness of the person. If the forgiveness is appropriate for their process and their integration. So
Yeah.
not necessarily as a stage of therapy or as something that has to be forced or pushed.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Remember that the resentment hurts the person doing the resenting more than the other. And that's one of the things I want my clients to know, that if I'm still resenting my father or my teacher,
Yeah.
then it's hurting me more than them. They probably don't even know about it. They might even be dead.
Yes, in the grief process, it's very common.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, thank you. This has been
Thank you.
an interesting, off the cuff conversation. Uh,
Yes.
you surprised me with the topic.
Thank you. Until the next one.
Okay. Have a good night. Bye
You
bye.
too. Bye.